Welcome back to Country Tough with Brandy Von Holten. Today I have someone that's in my life, but what a weird way that we met, okay? So her name is Lynne Knowles, all right? So Lynne, you're in the great state of what, Florida?
I'm in Florida. I'm in the central Florida near Tampa.
Okay. Man, I have been to Fort Lauderdale so many times, I've almost disliked it. And then I did some college in Mississippi, and so we were real close to Florida.
You were real close to L.A., Lower Alabama, my friend. But yes, we still call that Florida up there.
Oh, okay. Have you always been a Florida girl?
I was not born in Florida, but my parents moved here when I was 5 years old, and I pretty much lived here all of my 62 years. I have moved away from time to time for short periods, but I always had to come back to the beaches and just the lovely, lovely area that I live in.
Don't you mean the gators, the beaches and the gators? Oh, man, I think of Florida as some swampland, but I guess maybe I'm getting it confused with something else.
Yeah, you're getting it confused with the center of the state or maybe down near Okeechobee, which is just north of Miami. But where I live, it's a peninsula on a peninsula. So I've got the Gulf of Mexico, well, whatever we're calling it now.
The Gulf of America.
The Gulf of Mexico on one side, Gulf of America, and then we've got, we've got Tampa Bay on the other side. So I'm surrounded by water. It's amazing.
Okay. So, all right. Now then, a lot of y'all that are listening, listen to me because of the horse industry. Well, if you're listening to me just for that, I have a crazy wild side of me that is an ice water bath girl. I do these ice water baths. I record them. Right now, I have been logging all of my food and my health journey. I'm trying to reset my life. I gained 60 pounds in the last 10 years, but I gained it in the first 6 of those 10 years. I gained 10 pounds a year for 6 years in a row, and I'm trying to get that off of me so I can eradicate the decade of, destruction that was on my body to build Von Holten Ranch, my husband's horse trail riding facility, or my husband and my horse trail riding facility. We went from that family farm. It's been in the same family since 1906. We bought it in 2013. And we opened in 2014 as a trail riding facility. It was never a trail riding facility before that. But, man, it's always easier to give birth than to raise the dead. And we had to raise the dead, meaning clean up, a century worth of keeping stuff that had not been maintained. And then we had to build everything that we have now. So I put my health on the back burner, and now I'm putting it on the front burner. And for me to be accountable, I'm recording the whole thing, and I share it every day. And my Facebook and my TikTok following has blown up. Okay, so I met Lynne that was her first meeting of me was from these ice water baths. So, I'm used to people before I was a horse girl and before we were into the horse trail riding facility, I was a fighter, and I've been to all these countries fighting for the United States and women's heavyweight taekwondo. I did some cage fighting. So that was a longer piece of my life than the trail riding facility. So it's always weird where people meet me, but Lynne watched one of my videos. So, Lynne, do you remember what was being talked about or what your initial thoughts were of seeing a plus-size cowgirl getting into a water trough with ice in it?
Well, Brandy, first and foremost, I happen to be scrolling, and which I do sometimes, just trying to keep up with what's going on social media. And what hit me immediately was somehow it was sort of the middle of your video and you were getting in the water and you were laughing so hard. And you stopped the scroll, which is what anyone on social media wants to do. So I immediately stopped, restarted the video, and you were talking about this journey that you were going on and how the ice water baths were helping you. And you were outside If I remember correctly, it was like a watering trough you were getting into. And you didn't have to break the ice on that one, but I went and watched a whole bunch more of yours immediately, which was because I was intrigued by you. And when I started reading about you, what did I tell you? The very first thing when we chatted, or when I sent you an email, I think I said, you are truly the most interesting woman in the world. And I will stand by that because you have done so much in your life. And you are a go-getter. And I just think your energy came right through that screen at me. So I stopped, I looked, I listened, and I liked what I saw. So I got in touch with you, and here we are. Here we are now, right? And it's only been like a month or so, but my goodness, things have just progressed so much for you. And I'm really, really happy to say that I can be just a little part of your journey, if that makes sense. And that you were open, which is one thing that most people on social media, tell everyone out there, most people on social media, they've got someone working all of their emails, vetting people, doing a lot of things. And I honestly thought I was going to be getting in touch with a management company or something like that. But to get an email back from you pretty quickly, I was like, wow. But I might have said the right things to you, too, if that makes sense.
Well, thank you. Well, and you know what? I cannot stand whenever I think that I'm talking to someone else, but then I'm not. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
I would, and I hate that. Like, I have been communicating with people before that had a much smaller. They only had like 6,000 followers. And I was commenting and they were commenting back. And I really thought that I was like building a relationship with them. You know, I felt connected to them. And then it just found out it was someone else the whole time. And I was like, wow, that person has not connected with me. You know, like they don't even know that I exist. And I super know that they exist. You know, so for right now, I'm pretty guarded with who I let into my tight circle because I've been burned so many times. And so, but I let Lynne into my coveted circle. Okay. Like I talk openly and honestly, but I contact her. And it's because, you know what, we had a weird meeting. Okay. It was me in an ice water bath. You reached out, but then I had Lynne confused with another lady. Okay, because, oh my gosh, you know how many people want me to take a product and then be on their sales team and then push. And they always talk to me about sales more than they talk about what I'm actually trying to do, okay? And that is such a turnoff to me, and I get about 10 of those a day. All right. Well, there's a lady from Australia that had reached out to me that was just like, hey, she's like this certified hypnotist. Okay. And I was like, you know what? I have always wanted to be hypnotized, even though that's kind of scary to me because I hope they don't hypnotize me and then get my passwords and then do crazy stuff. Right. I'm so guarded. But I thought that I was reaching out to the hypnotist. Well, then I reached out to Lynne, and then you were so excited. So excited. You're like, Brandy, you know, like I was like, wow. And then it took me about 5 seconds to be like, oh, I didn't call the hypnotist from Australia. Okay.
Well, that's because my accent is just not quite Australian. But girl, I was excited because I love that your authenticity is exactly who you see on social media is you. And I try to do the same thing. So, you know, if you got it, you spot it.
Well, and then, you know what? I immediately trusted you. And like to hear that excitement in your voice, well, then there's a product that you were like, this would change your life. And I was like, you know what? I called this lady. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. And then she sent me this product. And I took it the first day, and the first day I felt literally different in my head. My food cravings were down. I am not about something that's going to jack my heart up, and then I'm already like the most random person. I don't need any help with being like, I don't need to be jacked up on Mountain Dew, right? I don't need that in my life at all. But then my clarity was great. And so I took the product. I took the product for a week. Well, then here's my husband. My husband is 51, but he's basically 95. Okay? Like, he is this guy. Like, if he was a movie star, okay, he would be in the movie Grumpy Old Men. Okay? He would be the third one. And if he was a cartoon character, he would be one of those two, like, movie critics that were always bickering back and forth. He's this grumpy man who I adore, right? And, but he doesn't trust nothing. He don't take nothing. Girl, I can't get him to stop sucking down Pepsis. And he's always like, oh, I'm on a diet. I only had one piece of pizza for breakfast, and then I only had one Reese's peanut butter cup package today. Like, he eats like a 12-year-old fat kid. Anyways, but David's seen how in control I was of my stuff, my mental focus. And he's like, he had his gallbladder taken out like a year or two ago, but they shouldn't have ever taken the dang thing out because he had pain in his stomach, but it's on the opposite side of where the gallbladder is at. But our insurance, we were trying to have all these tests done to figure out why he's got all this pain. And they just happened to check that because that was something the insurance would pay to have checked. And then it came back bad. And then all of a sudden our doctor's like, well, let's go ahead and get that thing out. And then we're like, okay. And so had his gallbladder taken out, and the pain is still there and it's on the other side of his stomach. And now he's got all sorts of, restroom issues and tummy issues. And so, here I have this 51-year-old man that had something that's not right, and now more things ain't right. Mm. So he is just, he's like, you know what, maybe I need to abandon the way, he doesn't know what carbohydrates and starches are and proteins. Like, he's not down with that. He's a woodworker. He's this good old boy, loves, the family farm, loves his wife, and he's just not down with all that. If it tastes good, then he's going to eat it. But he started taking them, and that boy stopped drinking pop, okay? Now we do 1 day off a week of an off day, and now we're getting where he only drinks half of one pop on that day, and he's thinking about giving that up because he feels so much better without it. So I'm like, man, this is what we need. I found out that I have the MTHFR. I have 2 variants of that gene. Means I can't break down like folic acid. Well, folic acid is in so many breads and cereals, and it's in so many products, and it's illegal in other countries, but here we are, So I'm getting rid of that, and David's getting rid of mostly sugar, in general, and pop. And we are getting so many things done. And that's because I took a chance on Lynne after I had contacted her, and I could hear her authenticness, and I could hear the truthfulness. And she's so passionate about this product, and not for the business part, because Lynne doesn't need the income from it, okay? Lynne wants to leave a legacy of providing health for other people. So I wanted y'all to meet Lynne. Now, so we're gonna dive deeper into Lynne at this moment, okay? So right now, while I'm recording this, I am finishing the last chapter of my 4th children's book, which is about how not all scars are visible. Okay, it's about a mule that has a ligament that's a little bit larger, and we're trying to figure out how she's going to be limited, and then back up from that limitation and then figure out where she's going to be great at. Well, it turns out that the thing doesn't limit her at all, and that mule, everything's true in the story. We're in the Guinness Book of World Records for a parade with the most mules. We've done mounted police training. She was the mule I used for crowd control there in this big old Mexican rodeo. That was like the coolest thing I've ever seen. But this is a cool mule, but I ended up trading her for kitchen equipment. I was offered $40,000 for this mule. I actually turned down the money because I love the mule, right? Money's not a motivator for me. Money, I actually hate the whole concept of money, but I love the concept of freedom, and freedom comes sometimes from having money, right? So Coco's book, it ends with a family that had, they had a big old, they were second generation for this restaurant. They closed the restaurant down, and they had kitchen equipment. And I needed that kitchen equipment because I stopped doing weddings and started doing homesteading classes, but I could not afford the commercial kitchen. Well, that family had a lot of pain in their life because they had a 4-year-old child that passed away on a vacation by drowning. And so that family, people, you know, they look at them and they don't know the pain, right? They don't know that scar that is in their life. Well, they needed an animal. You know, they needed a mule. One of the ladies she used to be one of my horseback riding students. And she's like, if you ever have one that's good enough for me, and actually, to tell you the truth, a lot of animals would be perfect for her. She just doesn't have that little bit of confidence that she needs. She's actually a much better rider than what she gives herself credit for. But I was like, I do have one, and it's the best animal I've ever had. It's the best animal I've ever had for what I was using her for. I do have another horse that's half psychotic, but I love her, and she loves me, and we work really well together because we're just captain crazies. But we're safe together. But that mule has, Coco, has the personality of Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. So in the end, it's an animal that has, you know, a scar that people can't see. And she goes to a family that has a scar that people can't see. And they flourished with that mule. They brought her back, and I got to see those young children just running her. And they don't realize that for her to canter and to run safely, it took me that I had that mule for 4 years of my life that I dedicated to her. Okay. It took so much of my soul to make that mule who she was. And then to see those kids, they are unaware of all that work I put into the animal, and they just love her to death, and they just think that that's normal, you know, and I love being part of them. So Lynne has a scar that is not visible to most people because whenever they meet her, she is filled with joy, and she's got this blonde hair, and she is banging. She is hot, right? And she wears these red glasses, and she's in Florida, and she's married to a man that's like 20 years older than her, and they are just having their best life and just full of energy and radiance and like wants to talk to people to help them with this product. But she has a scar. So this scar deals with her daughter. And your daughter passed away in 2011 at the age of 23?
That's right.
That is correct. And unfortunately, she overdosed. And now you have done all sorts of things going forward from that. So if you would tell us about Jamie Lynn.
That's one of my favorite subjects. Thank you so much for sharing that with everyone. And yeah, I love, you know, Coco sounds like an incredible animal that you gave a chance to, and you gave me a chance too. So you have an affinity to do that with those hidden scars. So Jamie was my only child, and I always say she was truly the light of my life. And she grew up with all of the opportunities and, you know, everything in front of her that she could make the best life. But unbeknownst to my husband Darold and I, and her father, Darold is her stepfather, my husband, she had some hidden scars herself that she didn't share with other people. And I want to say those things led her down a path of just trying to self-medicate those wounds, those scars, those things that were bothering her deeply. And again, we had no idea that She had been raped when she was 12 years old, and she did not share that with anyone until later. And I don't want to say it was until it was too late, Brandy, but she had already suffered for a long time, and we really didn't find out that she was abusing drugs until she was a senior, right before she graduated high school. We had some indications, and so we went to get her help, and she was accepting. But right after graduation, she disappeared, and we literally had to go hire a detective to find her. We found her, and or he found her, let's say, and we started kind of GPSing her phone, which is what we used to do back in the day. This was almost 14 years ago now. But Brandy, I found her through GPS, and she was at a local drugstore. I don't think I've shared this with you. She was at a local drugstore, and I thought, maybe she's there, applying for a job. So I drove there really quickly. Her car was in the parking lot. I ran inside, didn't find her anywhere. I knew the manager and asked was she in the back, maybe filling out an application. He said no. I started to walk out the door, and then I said no. Something told me to go back, and I went back into the ladies' room, and I looked down. Now, I'm almost 5'11", so I looked down, and I saw her feet under the big stall, and I very quietly went into the stall next to her and stood up on the toilet and looked over. And God had to show me what was happening, because I would have never believed it. She was actually shooting up in that bathroom, and I witnessed it. So everything changed right there and then. We did everything we could to try to get her help over the next several years. She went in and out of rehabs. She went in and out of living on the street. She went in and out of many, many horrific things that I don't even like to think about, but they did happen to her. And, I'll just say this way, she finally went into a rehab and stayed. And I knew my daughter never wanted to be, and she used to say this, I don't want to be a junkie. I don't want to be a junkie. So when your child tells you that, you do everything you can to help them not be what they don't want to be.
Right.
And we finally got her in a rehab, and she stayed in. She got out. She decided she wanted to move out west to live with an uncle on her dad's side that was a recovering addict. And she went out there and wanted to restart her life. We hear it all the time. Mm-hmm. You can't run away from your problems. But while she was out there, she reconnected with someone that she went to high school with that was just, they'd always been really great friends, someone that I had known since he was like 13, 14 years old. He was in the Navy. And they reconnected, and within 3 or 4 months, they were getting married. And my husband and I went out to San Diego and was there for her wedding. He was deployed from the Navy. He was deployed out on the Ronald Reagan and had been out for about 6 months when I had gone out to stay with her, spent 3 weeks with her. We had a great time. I felt like I had my daughter back. I had to come home for a while and was going to go back out to stay with her and be with her. And I was home 7 days when the phone rang. And it was her downstairs neighbor screaming and yelling that Jamie was dead. And I know that God gave me the blessing of being with her for those 3 weeks. I see that quite clearly now. I didn't at the moment when it was all happening, but after she passed away, her husband was brought back. We buried her here in Florida. Well, we didn't bury her. Sorry. We had her services here in Florida. He is still a part of my life. He is my son-in-law and will be my son-in-law forever. He's remarried, has 3 children. They all call me Grandma Lynne. Oh, okay. That's a blessing. That is a blessing. And he is an undercover detective here in Pinellas County. Okay. But I know that I went a little long on that. But, okay. There are probably people out there listening that maybe have someone in their life that's struggling with addiction. And so I've dedicated a lot of my life to help people on the family side, on the friend side, right. To understand that addiction is a disease.
Well, and you know what?
Nobody wakes up and wants to become an addict. No one ever wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to become an addict and I'm going to ruin my life. And everybody else around me.
I have so many people. I have people in my life where they are just They're good citizens. They're great people. And then their children have like a different path. And they're just like, oh my gosh, like, how did I let this happen? And I'm just like, man, you cannot blame yourself for that stuff, because every person is a different person. It's that happens the opposite way also, of chaos, and then stuff happens, and you can rise up out of it. And sometimes you just have these mental demons. I'm a big advocate for helping teens just try to make it out of their teens. I had a niece that she was pregnant. She thought that was the end of the world, and she ended her life over it. And I'm always telling people, like, no, don't end your life. It's just that's a permanent decision for a temporary problem. Okay, so like I have that. I have those strong. I know you help out with talking with people about addiction, and I talk about suicide a lot because it's impacted us. It changed us. I try to make my niece's death, like, I try to pull the positive out of it by helping other people not be in the same condition, so I understand with just trying to move forward with that. That's just like with my health journey, I'm trying to move forward. I'm trying to be like, dang it, I don't want to have a surgery. I don't want to do shots. I don't want to get into bed with something else that might cause another problem, and nothing against people that have chosen to do that. I actually tried to get the shots, and I was going to have to spend a couple of $1,000s a month on it. And I was like, and then I was just like, I don't want to do this. I'm afraid of it. My husband's doctor said that whenever he's opening people up, for surgeries, that there's issues. He said, and he told me, that doctor told me, that he thinks it's the next big lawsuit. And I'm like, I'm scared to death. Okay. And then I've had a 3-inch long blood clot before in my lower leg whenever I had like a tumor removed from my breast. So I don't want to have an elective surgery. Okay. That's why I don't have the weight loss surgery, is because my fear of blood clots is huge. Okay.
Right.
So like, I don't want to do it. And then part of me is like, you know what, I know that I've had some bad habits, some bad food habits, but I feel like my habits aren't that bad. Like, I shouldn't be over 300 pounds fat. I feel like I should be 200 pounds fat, right? So I feel like there's a problem with the foods that we're eating, and I'm finding out more and more about things that I'm trying to avoid. So like, part of me wants to fix the problem instead of masking it. So
100%.
Yeah. So the problem.
Yeah.
So I'm doing I've done carnivore. Okay, I really liked carnivore, but it does. I like food. I really like vegetables and stuff like that. But I do think that I'm trying to fast longer, so then my body can actually eat the reserves that I have. And this product helps me do this. And can you explain the science behind the ketones that I'm drinking?
Sure, absolutely. So I'll try to keep it as simple and as easy as possible, because really it is. When I found ketones almost 7 years ago now, they were handed to me by a friend of mine who knew that I'd been struggling trying to do the ketogenic diet. And if you've ever tried that, to me, it's harder than carnivore. It's harder than low carb. It's harder than slow carb. It's harder than intermittent fasting, because everything has to be completely balanced out. So I was trying and just failing. I was doing it, Brandy, to try to lower the inflammation in my body. And it's one of the great side effects of being in ketosis, which is the state of the body that everyone wants to be in, because it's your natural state. It's your native state. It's the state of the body every human being is born in. And that state of the body is not just about fat burning. It's about metabolic health, brain fuel, brain energy, lower inflammation, better mood, You're going to have better focus. All kinds of things come from the state called ketosis. Now, you don't have to do the diet anymore. You can drink bioidentical ketones. What's a ketone? A ketone is an energy source. It's something that we make in our liver when we are doing one of two things, either that perfect ketogenic diet, or if you do a 48 to 72 hour fast, your body is going to start creating its own energy source. And it creates that energy source and fuels your brain. Your brain's trying to keep us alive. That's its only job. So the brain calls for the liver to start making ketones when necessary. And that's because there's no glucose, right? Because we're not eating anything, or we're not eating any sugar or carbohydrates. Now, that's a sort of easy, simple, I hope, way for everyone to understand what a ketone is. But about 10 years ago, our company, found that a doctor in Florida had been hired by the Department of Defense to create drinkable ketones, because the Navy SEALs and the astronauts needed ketones in their body, and they could not even do this diet perfect enough to make enough ketones so they could be those elite, the elite armed forces that they are, really.
Right.
So drinkable ketones came to the market about 10 years ago through our company, because the Department of Defense sold us all of the original patents. And we saw the big picture of health and wellness for the next generation and beyond, and to help who's alive now, if that makes sense, from the womb to the tomb, all ages, to be able to just drink ketones, bioidentical, all natural, made through natural fermentation, and be able to achieve this state of ketosis with just in 30 minutes. Now, A lot of people fight for weeks and weeks and weeks to get there. Mm-hmm. So it's a super simple thing that you've been doing now for, over a month, and it tastes good. That's one of the biggest questions I get all the time. Does it taste good? Because it doesn't taste good. No, it tastes pretty darn good. And you drink it once or twice a day, depending on the person. Right. And the great thing is that the reason I'm so passionate about it is what happened to me personally, and then what I've seen over the last I've been here 7 years, over the last 7 years, and all of the research that backs this. My inflammation just flew out of my body. And having rheumatoid arthritis, it was something that really elevated me to be able to be human again. There was a time in my life when I was not able to go grocery shopping. I couldn't dress myself. I couldn't wash my own hair because my inflammation from rheumatoid was so bad. And so I really wasn't living the life that I knew I could. So this gave me just lower inflammation. But also, you talk about my energy and my positivity. Mm-hmm. That is also a result of drinking ketones, because my brain is fueled properly, and we're not trying to fight all of the, dopamine, serotonin, all of the things up there that are unbalanced, because ketones help balance everything. So for me, I have this great vision, and that my great vision, Brandy, is for anyone that drinks ketones and wants to better their life, become a better version of themselves, whether it's dropping, fat, whether it's having the energy, the focus, be a better mom, be a better dad, be the grandma that can get down on the floor and play with the kids, or a teenager that's maybe got some issues with ADHD, things like that. Ketones can help with so many things. And I want to be someone who leads the charge to help change this generation in the way we think about our health and wellness, knowing we do not have to age like our parents and our grandparents, Brandy. No. We can have longevity with also having the great health to go along with that longevity, right? Nobody wants to stay in a nursing home longer. Nobody wants to be in a nursing home. Nobody wants to fall and break a hip and then go downhill. We want to start as early as we can to be metabolically healthy and have longevity. Right. So that's my vision and my goal. And for you, when I saw you in that ice bath and I heard your story and read a little bit more about you, I just knew that this could change so much for you. And now you've talked about not just you, but your husband and so many people that are getting interested because you're doing something that's changing your life, and therefore you can impact so many people.
Well, and you know what? Here's things that because I have a biology degree, a minor in physics. I have a couple of other degrees, but I used to be a science teacher, right? And the science behind this is solid. You know, talking about the mental clarity, you know, back in the day, whenever there was like hunters and gatherers, and, you know, they didn't get to eat all the time like we do, right? But a lot of people were like, man, if they would go 3-4 days without eating, you would think that they would be lethargic and just like dragging and moping. And actually, no, they would have more energy because they would have to run and catch, or they would have to throw their spear to be able to, you know, get something to actually eat. It was actually heightened. Their ability to hunt and to focus was heightened. And it was heightened because they were in ketosis, okay? And so this right here, you know, I tried to go to the Olympics as a heavyweight fighter. That focus, oh my gosh, to be able to, A, you're defending yourself, but then B, you have to be attacking at the same time, and then you're looking for these small gaps to hit them, you know, and while you're trying to not get knocked out. Girl, that is not a strength game. That is a mental game, okay?
100%.
With your body paying the dues of the check that that you write, okay? But that mental focus, I could see Olympians like I'm on a fighting team right now, and I just had to take a few months off to be able to, I have another blood clot in my leg, but it's just about gone, and then I'll be back to fighting again. But I could see our team using this because they use so many calories just trying to keep up with the physical impact of the sport. But then to take the ketones, you know, they cannot, to keep up with the demands, this is going to be a game changer for athletic teams. This is going to be a game changer for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And we've already seen it in action. There are several, and, you know, I'm not at liberty to name names, but there are several Olympic athletes that have been utilizing our product for years. There are several gold winning and silver and bronze winning Olympic athletes that have utilized our product. And the great thing is, like what you said, is that you can be dual fueled. So you don't have to follow any strict diet. You are literally putting those ketones right into your bloodstream through, you know, your digestive system, drinking them, and they go to work just as if you'd made them on your own.
Right, because
you get all the benefits.
Identical. Bioidentical means it's not, you know how like folic acid is trying to look like folate, but they're two different things. These things right here, these ketones are bioidentical. Okay, it's like they're twins. Okay, that's cool. So, I'll tell you how I'm taking it, and then how my husband and I take it 2 different ways, okay? Because, girl, I love my coffee, and my coffee loves me back, okay? We have a relationship. I have special cups. I have a whole counter designated for my coffee. And I will tell you, I'm a little bit mad at you, Lynn, because I don't care about my coffee as much as I used to since I've started taking this. I actually think that I'm phasing out of the coffee, but I'm holding on. I'm holding on because we've had a relationship for a long time, me and my coffee have, okay? But I will tell you, so there's 2 different ways I'm taking this right now. I either don't eat breakfast and I will have my ketone drink, and then I will tell you, I'm going past noon. It's more like 1:30 or something like that before I'm, you know, being like, okay, I'm ready to eat a meal, you know, and then I'll have dinner also. Or if I'm like, I want my dang coffee, okay? So then, and, you know, whenever I do it the way I just said, I'll have coffee at lunch. You know, I'm still having the coffee. But I think it's more of a habit. It used to feel like I needed it, and actually I don't need it anymore now. I bet you I would be okay with some warm water. I mean, like, I'm used to drinking that warmth and that soothingness. The other way that I'm taking it is I'll go ahead and eat breakfast and have my coffee, and then I wait a little bit. I'll wait like an hour and a half or so, or about, more than an hour, and then I'll do the ketones, and then I'll have dinner. So those are the two ways that I have found. My husband he probably has breakfast once a week, and he drinks the drink at the beginning of the day and then does like a small lunch and then a medium-sized dinner. But I will tell you, whenever I wake up in the morning, you would think that, I used to wake up in the morning and I'm like, feed the beast. Oh my God, I'm so hungry, right? I am so mad because I wake up in the morning and I'm not hungry. And I'm like, girl, what do like, I have an obesity problem because I do love some food. And now it's kind of like, I could eat, so I do love the fact that whenever that I can still have my coffee. And if I feel like I got to have it in the morning, then that just means ketones after I'm done with the coffee. And then it helps me like fight off hunger. And then I'm getting stuff done. I mean, like, I have a magazine and oh my gosh, I have 22 different writers for that magazine. And a lot of them are at different writing levels and a lot of them are turned in different ways. It's a lot, okay? And then I have advertisers that I'm working with. I'm about to start a mounted archery association, and my husband has my mind, like, I have to stay sharp because if I get dull, then I'm going to drop something and it's going to be catastrophic. Okay. Wow. So I need that mental focus. So I put mine, and you told me I don't have to do this. My husband does it your way of just mixing, shaking it up. I use a little $20 frother, but some of the flavors make a lot of foam, and I'll drink that foam off, and then some of them don't. But I use a little frother. I put a little bit of water in there, and then I put my electrolytes with it, and then I, mix that up real good. Then I add more water. I put the ketones in, and girl, I love the strawberry peach one. I love heart tart. I love the blueberry one. I like the lime one. I have zero love for the Swiss coca one. But I could see how people would love that one. That one's like, it's like a hot chocolate flavor. But, that's your favorite?
No. Oh no. I'm with you. However, I can tell you over this, the 7 years I've been here, I've had people that only wanted that. Right. So it's one of those, it's a love-hate relationship. You either love it or you hate it. And to be totally honest with people, I tell them that. Yeah. Because I think this product tastes amazing. But there are those people out there that anything chocolate is going to satisfy them. Mm-hmm. And for me, I like chocolate. I just could care less about that particular one. But you don't have to drink it. That's the great part. You don't have to drink it. Yeah. But I love that you, that this is flexible. You know that you can fit this into your day, where you need it, when you need it, how you want it. I'm, like you said, like your husband, I just put about 16 ounces of water, a couple of ice cubes in a shaker cup, throw whatever flavor I'm having in, throw my electrolytes in. I shake it for literally, 3 seconds, and I'm ready to go. I love that I can make it at a red light, Brandy. Sometimes I've had to do that, out traveling or doing whatever. So it's super simple. It's already measured for you. You don't have to have a blender. You don't have to have all that stuff. But you like it froth? A lot of people do. So you can do it however you want. But I love that you also found out, when you need to drink it. That's for you for that day. Because there are mornings I get up and I'm like, I want coffee today. It's because I'm like you. I love it. I don't want the stimulant energy from it anymore. I don't need it. Right. So a lot of times I'll drink mushroom coffee, or I'll drink caffeine or decaf. Call it decaf. And
we call it unleaded.
Unleaded. I don't need the lead anymore. Right. I don't need it anymore because ketones are the fuel source that's giving me everything that I need and helping me like charge through my day. I'm like you. Well, I'm not like you because again, you're the most interesting woman in the world. I mean, you just talk about your magazines and your mounted horse archery. All of the things you do, plus the farming and the animals, and it's a lot. And so for you to, I know you do, and for you, and you're passionate about it, but for you to be able to say, I'm crushing through my days, that's to me, for you to say that, yes, the fat loss is going to happen. It's going to happen. But for you to be able to be happy, which you are that happy, uplifting person anyway, but to heighten that and then to hear what's happening with your husband, because the same, I'm just going to whisper, same thing happened with my husband.
Oh, yeah.
Literally got off of all sodas. He drinks a half a cup of coffee in the morning because that is his routine. Throws the rest down the sink because he can't wait to have his ketones.
That's the way I feel.
Yeah. Can't wait to have them. Can't wait to feel that good. And then you sleep great. You go to bed. I mean, I know you didn't have a lot of sleep problems, but me, I'm a bit older than you. I'm old enough to be your mama. But literally, as I got older, sleep disruptions were just part of the, quote unquote aging process. But I found out, and maybe you can verify this as the science teacher, as having all these degrees, is that part of the reason our sleep is disrupted at night is because our brain is calling for glucose. Our brain is calling for fuel to keep us alive while we're sleeping. So that's why so many people wake up in the middle of the night, go downstairs, and they get something to eat. So what this does is fuels your brain while you're sleeping, and you get a deeper, better sleep, actually. I'm not going to say you sleep longer, but you definitely sleep better. And that's another great thing for people, because that's anti-aging. This is anti-aging, and that getting sleep is part of, having better metabolic health. So can you verify that for me?
Well, I can tell you that my dreams are crazy. Like, they're so in color and moving around and so much more in depth. And my husband wakes up and he's just like, I had another crazy dream. Like, we are dreaming so much. So I know that that's happening in that deep REM sleep, because it's allowing our brain to but the dreaming, so I know that I'm not just half asleep. I know that I'm in a deep sleep for me to be getting those dreams. And
exactly.
And they're vivid, and I will tell you, my husband's brain health is one of my top priorities right now. His father-in-law, or not his father-in-law, that would be my dad. His stepfather is in a nursing home, okay? And I know that there's no blood relation between him and his stepfather, but it's just a big reminder of the mind whenever it deteriorates. And my husband's father and that side of his family that he takes after, man, a lot of them don't know what's going on for the last 10 years of their life, okay? So his brain health is extremely important to me, because I want him. I want his brain to still be popping. I don't want him to fall into those last 10 years of his life with any kind of brain issue. So the fact, whenever, I'm over here, I've got to lose weight. If I got injured, my husband can't pick me up. It would, there's problems. And with me being a cowgirl, I mean, I could get injured, and I just hope that I don't get injured too bad, because basic bodily functions could not be taken care of. So I'm a realist where I'm like, I've got to get this weight off. So I'm easier to care for, and I want to live longer, and I want to do all of these vacations and have this wonderful life. But then on the flip side, my husband doesn't feel well. I need him to feel great, and he does feel good. He's been in these he's lost 10 pounds since he started, okay, and he's only been doing these for a month, but and a lot of that is because he's a guy. You know how guys always seem to be able to drop some weight faster, but he feels better and he has more energy, and for him to be pumped up about anything, the whole world needs to listen to David, not me. I am always like, whoa, yeah. But I'll tell you, I have never let a supplement come into my life just because I've always been like, oh, they're going to try to sell me stuff. You know, I always just felt like I hate whenever people just try to have me sell. It's such a turn off. But this is, I don't care. I don't care if I hurt anybody's feelings. They should trust me enough because I've never been that person. I've turned down huge endorsements because it is so important to me for me to be viewed as truthful and to not be viewed as somebody that's trying to make a buck off of them. But I don't care if someone buys it. I hope they do for their health. My income comes from Von Holten Ranch, okay? But I want them to take this because we're having great outcomes from it. And I am so tired of taking my journey by myself. I would love for people to take the journey with me. I'm a people person, and I want every one of my children's books is about how people are enough and about how they need to get out of their head and how they need to just be, you know, like my first children's book is about the power of one positive person. Okay. The second one is about loving yourself and finding your passion. The third children's book was about having a bad childhood doesn't define you as an adult, or going through a traumatic event is just a chapter. You know, like my money is not a motivator to me. I've seen money do some horrible things to people. So for what we do, you would think that I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make this money. I'm going to count these stacks. And I'm over here like, I literally hate the concept of money.
Yeah.
But
well,
I love the concept of health, you know?
Right. And so, you know, that's a really great point that you bring up. And, you know, 7 years ago when I started drinking ketones, I was retired. You know, my husband's a Missouri boy too, and, you know, he's blessed. He played Major League Baseball as a pitcher for 20 years, and then he went on to coach for 40 years after that. So he had a 60-year career in Major League Baseball. But you know what? He's 83 years old, and when we go somewhere, people barely think he's 70.
Right.
And that's 7 years of drinking ketones. I'm not going to say he doesn't have good genes. You know, you have to have some good genes, okay? But that doesn't matter as you're aging, right? The brain health, like you said, is so important. So important for all of us. And there is so much scientific evidence that drinking ketones on the very first serving, it's going to go in and start getting rid of those proteins and that plaque in the brain. So for your husband, what you're talking about, health and wellness, you guys are starting at the perfect age. I was 55. My husband was like 73 or 4 or something like that when we started drinking ketones. So knowing what it could do for us in this span of time and what it started doing for us right away, that's the passion. And so I've never felt one day that I have ever been a salesperson. I am here to help people find their path and what they want to do. And if ketones are a part of that, then great, let's do it together. Let's go change the world. But if ketones are something that they want to drink and, you know, they're good, just I'm loving them. Hey, I want to support them so they can have everything that they want for their health and wellness. So again, I hear you. And when I told you about this, all I knew was it could help you. I knew it could help you. Oh, and that was what I focused on. Because I loved your laugh, and I loved who I saw, and I loved what I was hearing. And I also loved that you and your husband have a century farm in Missouri, because my husband's from a very small town just a little bit north of you, and there's a century farm there, and we know those people very well. And I think it's just amazing that those exist still, if you will, like the property, everything, you know, where I live, you can't find an inch to build anything on because everybody is like, oh, we want to live there. Yeah. Well, there's something to be said about where you are and what you're doing and how you're making your mark in the world to teach people sustainable farming, to teach people all of the things that you are doing. Right. And I can't wait to get your tallow because, girl, I've been doing that for a long time. I want yours now. So I got to get some. I
love my tallow lotion, and I'm whipping that myself. I called up my Mennonite friends the other day, and I'm like, hey, I need some more tallow because I've got my stickers coming in, and I'm going to sell that. So the way that they can, okay, Brandy Von Holten, you're on my podcast, so you can look up how to spell my name. Brandy with a Y, just like the alcohol, okay? And Von Holten, it's 2 words, but when you type it into the website, there's no A, okay? Remember, I used to be a fighter, so if you put an A in my last name, I'm going to kick your A, okay? So let's learn there's no A. It's VONHOLTEN. And you can remember 10 because I'm a perfect 10. I'm not a 7. I'm not an 8, baby. I'm a 10. Okay? So remember that. So brandyvonholten.com. And if you, I have a section on there that's health journey. Now on that health journey, if you scroll down, you're going to see me drinking this drink. It's blue. It's blue in that picture. I might end up changing the picture, but it's a glass, and you'll be like, what's Brandy drinking? Whenever you click on that and you go to purchase, I'm going to say, hey, I need your email address and your phone number. And you know the reason why I need that is because, I would punch somebody in the throat if they stole your information. Okay, we don't do that right there. The only person that's going to get that information is me and Lynne, unless I end up selling to like 20,000 people and she's got to hire another person, and then we will also tell you their name. Okay, and they're always going to have an accent like me or Lynne. Okay, you can infer what I said. Okay, but anyways, and then I would recommend getting the 30-day. That's what I started with, was the 30-day, and they have a variety pack, because then you can decide. You might be one of those weirdos that likes that Swiss Coca one. Okay. My husband likes the lime one. Girl, I thought he was going to like the strawberry peach one. He's like, yeah, that's good. But he's like, I like this lime one. And I'm like, really? Like, I like the lime one also, but like my heart's always with blueberry, and there's a couple of different blueberry tastes. But then you can find out which ones you like, and you can find out, you might want to just stick with the variety pack, but I would stick with a month. If you're like, I don't want to commit to that, they do have a 10-day option, but you need to talk to Lynne. Don't be on there and saying, I don't want nobody to talk to me, because Lynne doesn't need your money. Lynne is trying to help you, okay? And she's going to, if you're a type 2 diabetic, you need to talk to Lynne. If you have some lady problems, you need to talk to Lynne about what this is going to do and things to look out for. If you have irritable bowel, you better talk to Lynne, because she's going to tell you like, hey, well, let's try this with your first one or whatever. Like if you've got some issues, you need to talk to her about how to optimize this product, because if you don't, you might be drinking it, and then, like she has me wait a specific amount of time between if I want to do coffee. Well, if I don't do that, I might not be getting the best that I can from this product. Okay, so it's just in your, if you're going to go through the process of buying it, why would you not have a 10-minute conversation with Lynne to make it better? She's not going to try to upsell. She is going to help you. And if I tell you that, and if you don't believe me, then you don't need to be a friend of mine, because I don't lie to people. And, if I found out that Lynne was doing some nasty stuff, and like, you should buy this 20,000 pack or whatever. Y'all can tell me that, and I'll get rid of her out of my life. If I find, because that's the person I am. You don't own a century farm and do this trail riding facility, letting nasty people into your life. And right. I didn't let a nasty person in my life. My circle is so freaking small. And Lynne is on my favorites list on my phone, and you don't get to be that person being nasty. You know what I mean?
Well, 100%. And Brandy, I appreciate everything you just said, and again, integrity. I'm 62. I'm going to be 62 here in a couple of months, and I've lived my life with integrity. I've helped thousands and thousands of people with ketones, but I've also, where I came from. Remember that tale of Coco that you just told. Mm-hmm. we can take those moments in our life and we can become better, and we can create better, and we can live our life with integrity. Again, my goal, like I told everyone earlier, is what it is with helping people with ketones. But ultimately, when I cross over and I'm with my daughter again, I can't wait for her to put her arms around me and tell me how proud she is of me because of how I went and lived my life and helped other people. So you can't be a bad person and do that, Brandy. You just can't. It doesn't work. It doesn't happen. But again, people have to trust. And I know that when people talk to me, all I want to do is help them. And I believe they will find that out.
Right.
They will find that out. So I'm on this journey with you, and I'm locked arms beside you. And I can't wait till I come to Missouri and get to meet you in person, and we hang out, get to know each other even better. And then we got to do a bunch of filming. We got to do a bunch of filming then, because there's going to be so much to talk about. But listen, I know that you had me on today for multiple reasons, and I'm so blessed to call you in my inner circle as well. Mine's pretty tight, and I know that it's just going to get better and better. And I'm so happy for you and your husband, both of you.
Well, thank you very much. So if y'all, whenever you contact me through that ketone section on my websites underneath my health journey, you're going to be talking to Lynne Knowles. And right now, everything gets sent to me, and then I send it to her. And then if I know anything about you, be like, oh, yeah, that girl does this and that, and she's wonderful. I mean, like, I tell her, like, little bits about y'all, and she's like, this is awesome. This is great. And a lot of you, I know a lot of stuff about you because I've, been in the, horse industry for a while, but then a lot of you I don't. So I'm looking forward to, share your stuff on my Facebook page. Like, whenever you see me, I have all sorts of people that said they've lost 12 pounds, they've lost 10 pounds, and I read all of those comments. It takes me a long time, but I look through and see them. And whenever somebody is clicking a heart or a like, or they respond, that's me. That's me. So, all right. Well, thank y'all for tuning in to Country Tough with Brandy Von Holten.